The Philadelphia Eagles are gearing up for a huge clash at home against the New York Giants, and the timing couldn't be more critical. With playoff seeding on the line and a team still finding its rhythm in several key areas, the Birds are making moves, both on the field and on the roster. This week, there's a lot to unpack, starting with a cornerback whose name might not be familiar to everyone, but could soon become a central figure in this evolving defense. Jakorian Bennett is back in the mix. Now, some of you might be wondering why this matters. Here's the deal. The Eagles officially opened the practice window for Bennett, and that's a big deal for a secondary that's been shaky, inconsistent, and riddled with question marks all season long. While Darius Cooper and Nolan Smith remain sidelined. At least for now, Bennett is trending in the right direction and could even suit up against the Giants. With the Eagles bye week coming up in Week 9, this could be Bennett's shot to show what he's got before bigger decisions need to be made. Vic Fangio, who's been under pressure himself to tighten things up on defense, had some interesting comments about Bennett. He basically admitted that he never got a fair look at the guy before the pectoral injury that knocked him out in that wild Week 3 win over the Rams. Before that, Bennett had been rotating in during key matchups against heavyweights like the Cowboys and Chiefs. Not much action, but when he did play, there were flashes, especially on special teams. He was a key piece in the Jordan Davis scoop and score after that blocked field goal. And just like that, he was gone. IR, out of sight, but certainly not out of mind. What's intriguing is that the Eagles traded for Bennett before the season even started. They wanted to bolster the depth at corner and maybe even find someone who could push for a starting role. That potential is still very much on the table. And Fangio seems genuinely excited to see what he's capable of. It's easy to understand why. With the Raiders, Bennett put together a solid stretch of tape. Not elite, but definitely promising. The knock on him? Injuries. They've followed him around, and if that continues, he won't last. But if he stays healthy, the Eagles may have a gem on their hands. Let's not sugarcoat it. The options at CB2 have been underwhelming. Adoree Jackson had that concussion against the Vikings. Kelee Ringo stepped in, made a couple of plays, but also got beat on more than one occasion. Fangio said it himself. Both Ringo and Jackson have been victims of good route concepts. Translation? They're getting cooked. That's why there's real interest in what Bennett can bring. If he steps in and balls out against the Giants, that could change the trajectory of this secondary before the trade deadline. Before the injury, Bennett had only logged 21 coverage snaps, so the sample size was small. But within that limited action, there was promise. He was still learning the playbook, adjusting to Fangio's complex defensive scheme, and trying to carve out a role after being acquired just before the final preseason game. Despite all that, he made things tough on Puka Nacua in that Rams game, even though the refs let a jersey tug slide. That's the kind of physical play you like to see in a young corner. And more importantly, it didn't result in a catchable ball. So if you're looking for silver linings in a season where injuries have piled up, Bennett is one of them. Let's dig into the numbers from his time in Vegas, because they tell a pretty compelling story. Among all cornerbacks who logged at least 450 snaps in the 2024 season, Bennett allowed just 18 catches. That ranked third in the NFL. He was targeted 37 times, 10th fewest, and gave up just 176 yards. That was second among corners. 0 touchdowns allowed. Let that sink in. Not one. He had 9 pass breakups, tied for 4th in the league. A passer rating against of just over 62, 6th best among corners. And the cherry on top, he locked down Ja'Marr Chase in a head-to-head matchup. 3 catches, 16 yards, no touchdowns, and a pass breakup. That's no fluke. That's lockdown ability. And it's not like the Eagles stumbled into him by accident. They liked him during the pre-draft process when he was coming out of Maryland. He was a 3rd or 4th round pick for the Raiders, and his athletic profile fits the mold Philly is clearly drawn to. Now look, he's not the biggest guy. He stands about 5'10", 188 pounds. But he has elite burst, twitch, and acceleration. His vertical is over 40 inches broad, jump past 11 feet, and he clocked a blazing 4.3 flat in the 40. That's better than Ringo, and while Ringo might have size and speed, his change of direction and hip fluidity have been an issue. That's where Bennett could step in and make a difference. The Eagles like athletes. That's obvious. but they also like guys who can actually play football, and Bennett might be both. If he shows up on Sunday and makes an impact, that could push the coaching staff to take a serious look at reshuffling the secondary. Because right now, it's not just about having bodies out there. It's about finding real solutions. And if Bennett doesn't work out, there's always the C.J. Gardner-Johnson wild card. If he returns and Bennett, Jackson, or Ringo can't hold it down, the Eagles could slide Quinyon Mitchell outside, keep Cooper DeJean out wide, and let CJJ handle nickel duties. That alignment gives you elite coverage inside and out. It also gives you the flexibility to keep developing a guy like Andrew Mukuba at safety, where he's had his ups and downs. He's flashed at times, interceptions, tackles in the run game, but he's also been lost in coverage. Fangio called it a tumultuous start, and that's being generous. But if you're committed to his development, that setup allows him to stay on the field while giving your corners the best chance to succeed. Speaking of those rookie corners, how about what Mitchell and DeJean did against Justin Jefferson? That's one of the best receivers on the planet, and they held him to just 2 catches for 28 yards across 27 coverage snaps. Jefferson is a monster, but these 2 kept him bottled up, and on that would-be touchdown, it was DeJean with the excellent pass breakup to save 6 points. And here's a wild stat for you. Cooper DeJean has not given up a touchdown since college. That's elite. That's rare. And it's a big reason why the Eagles' secondary has looked drastically better than it did in 2023. Now here's where things get really interesting. According to the new book about Philly's Super Bowl season, the Eagles had both Mitchell and DeJean as their top 2 corners on the draft board. And somehow, both fell into their lap. Mitchell in the first, DeJean in the second. It's deja vu, man. The last time the Eagles took 2 corners in the first 2 rounds? Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown back in 2002. That duo turned into one of the best in the league. History might just be repeating itself in South Philly. Meanwhile, the second roster move also carries weight, especially when you consider how the offensive line has been performing lately. Sua Opeta is back. Not a headline-grabbing name, but for those who followed this team closely, you know he's a Jeff Stoutland guy through and through. Undrafted out of Weber State, the same school as Damian Lillard, Opeta started his NFL journey with the Eagles back in 2019. He's been in and out of the rotation, had a short stint with the Buccaneers, and now he's back on the practice squad. And let's be real, the interior of this offensive line needs help. Badly. This unit, which once set the gold standard for line play across the league, has looked surprisingly pedestrian through the first half of the season. Landon Dickerson hasn't lived up to the hype. Cam Jurgens is clearly feeling the effects of off-season back surgery, and now dealing with a knee issue. Tyler Steen? Serviceable, but nowhere near the level you expect from a team with championship aspirations. The numbers back it up, too. The Eagles are near the bottom in critical O-line metrics. 27th in yards before contact per carry. 31st in stuffed run percentage. 24th in run block win rate. 25th in pressure rate. 19th in pass block win rate. That's not the recipe for success. And when you bring in a guy like Opeta, it's not just about depth. It's about trying to stabilize a unit that has lost its edge. He knows the scheme, he's played in big games, and he brings familiarity and physicality. Maybe he's not the long-term answer, but he can give you quality snaps if called upon. Something isn't adding up with the Philadelphia Eagles' ground game this year. Last season, this was a rushing attack that terrified defenses. It was dominant, physical, explosive, a unit that controlled the clock and imposed its will. Now, in 2025, it looks like a shell of itself. The production has fallen off a cliff, and the biggest surprise in all of it is that Saquon Barkley, fresh off one of the greatest individual seasons by a running back in NFL history, is stuck spinning his wheels. We're talking about a guy who led the league in touches just a season ago, racked up awards, and had some people calling his 2024 campaign the best ever by a player at his position. And now, he doesn't even have a single game with over 100 scrimmage yards. Through 7 weeks, he has 113 carries for 369 yards, which comes out to just 3.3 yards per attempt. Only 3 rushing touchdowns. No pop, no rhythm, and way too many plays ending before they even start. Now, the obvious question is Saquon washed? Is he cooked after carrying such a heavy load last year? At first glance, that might seem like a reasonable theory. Running backs do fall off quickly. They hit that wall, and it's usually brutal. But if you've been watching closely, you know that's not what's happening here. He still has burst. He still has the agility. The lateral quickness, the jump cuts, the spin moves, they're all still there. He's not limping, not dragging his legs through tackles. When he gets space, he moves like the elite back we saw a year ago. The problem is he's getting zero help from his offensive line. And that's not an exaggeration. This line has been underperforming in every area that matters in the run game. The data is damning. Yards before contact per carry for Saquon, 27th in the league. Stuffed run percentage, second to last at 31st. That means on a massive percentage of his runs, he's getting hit either at or behind the line of scrimmage. How do you expect a player, even one as talented as Barkley, to do damage when he's being met by defenders immediately after getting the handoff? Last season, the situation was completely different. Saquon averaged nearly 4 yards before contact. That is massive. That means on most of his runs, he was untouched for almost 4 full yards. That kind of space allows a player like Barkley to find lanes, make defenders miss, and turn solid gains into explosive plays. This year, that average has dropped by 2 full yards. That's 6 feet. That's the difference between a clean run lane and running straight into the teeth of a defense. To put it in total yardage perspective, in 2024, Barkley ran for over 2,000 yards, and over 1,300 of those came before contact. In 2025, he's at 369 total yards, and just over 200 have come before contact. So if you're wondering why the Eagles can't run the ball, don't point fingers at Saquon. The bigger issue is up front. There's also the mental side of it. Barkley has admitted that sometimes he looks for the big play instead of taking what's there. That's been a knock on him going back to his early days with the Giants. And sure, maybe there are plays where he could hit the hole and grab a few yards instead of bouncing outside. But even if that's true, too often he's not even being given a real option. When you're being hit 2 yards in the backfield on first down, no decision you make is going to look good. It's survival mode. And for an offense that was built on balance, physicality, and versatility, that's a major problem. Let's not forget, this team spent real resources building this offensive line. Landon Dickerson is supposed to be one of the best guards in football. Cam Jurgens, before his injuries, was seen as the heir to Jason Kelce. Tyler Steen came with high expectations. And yet, as a unit, they've regressed. They're not winning at the point of attack. They're not sustaining blocks. And the results are killing the efficiency of the entire offense. When the Eagles can't run the ball, everything else becomes harder. The play-action game loses its bite. Defenses can sit back and take away deep routes. And even with Jalen Hurts playing some of his best football, there's only so much he can do when the ground game is completely neutralized. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what can only be described as a shocking move that has sent ripples throughout the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles have reportedly decided to part ways with their star tight end, Dallas Goedert. The news, still unconfirmed by the team in official statements, has already ignited a firestorm among fans and analysts alike. Sources close to the organization suggest that the decision comes after weeks of internal discussions, but the reasons remain murky, sparking speculation across the league. Goedert, who has been a cornerstone of the Eagles' offense for several seasons, has consistently delivered clutch performances and has developed into one of the most reliable tight ends in the game. His chemistry with the quarterbacks and his ability to find seams in opposing defenses have made him a fan favorite and a critical piece of Philadelphia's offensive puzzle. Now, the thought of the Eagles moving on without him has left supporters stunned and, in many corners, heartbroken. Social media exploded within minutes of the announcement, with hashtags mourning the departure trending nationwide. While details of where Goedert might land next remain scarce, rumors are already swirling about potential suitors. Teams known for needing a dynamic tight end have reportedly reached out, and insiders hint at a bidding war that could redefine the market for one of the league's premier talents. Meanwhile, Eagles fans are left grappling with what this move means for the team's future. Some argue it could open doors for younger players to step into the spotlight, while others fear a void that might take years to fill. The timing of this rumored exit has also raised eyebrows, as the offseason approaches and teams are preparing to solidify rosters. If the whispers prove true, Philadelphia's front office could be banking on a bold strategy, prioritizing salary cap flexibility or targeting other positions in an aggressive shakeup. But for now, all eyes are on Goddard and the Eagles, as the NFL world waits for confirmation and braces for the fallout of what might be one of the most surprising departures in recent memory. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.